Hello, thanks for purchasing one of our You Repair Do-It-Yourself kits. We prepared this video to help you go through the process of repairing your iPhone in an easy and safe way. All you have to do is follow the step-by-step instructions. So let's start by showing you how to open your device.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm an AI expert and today I'll be showing you how to replace the broken screen on an iPhone 4S. First thing and foremost, you want to make sure that your workstation is properly organized and that we have all the tools for the job. Starting on this side, we have our set of screwdrivers, followed by various prying tools, our plastic spudger, some tweezers, and the eject pin for the SIM card. Up here we have the magnetic map. This map will ensure that we don't lose or mix up any of the screws. Here we have double-sided adhesive. This adhesive we're going to use to reinstall the screen, as it does have some adhesive on there. We have this sticker here to install on top of the broken screen to avoid any kind of injury like cutting ourselves. And finally we have the replacement screen. So the first step that we're going to do is we're going to install this sticker. So we're going to remove the paper backing from it. Place that aside. We're going to align it as best as possible. And using our spudger, place it on top. Just guide it along the device to create a nice little bond there. Next step is we're going to remove the back panel. We're going to remove both of the screws located on each side of the charging port using the pentaloop screwdriver. Place the screws on your map to keep track of them. I like using my finger here as leverage in order to avoid scratching the device. And it's easier to actually find the screw. Alright, next step is with our thumbs, we're going to press and push the back panel upwards, like so, to create this little lip that you see here. We're going to be picking up on that piece in order to lift up the back panel off of the device, like so. Place that aside. Now we have actually gained access to the inside of the device. We will begin by removing the battery. In order to do so, we're going to disconnect this connector that you see here by removing both of the Phillips screws. Placing these aside. Now you want to be careful, as when you remove this connector here, you do have a grounding clip, which is this little black and gold contact that you see beneath the battery connector. So using our spudger, we're going to insert it on the bottom portion of the flex of the connector. We're going to insert it onto the shield, underneath the shield, and pry it. Fold it towards the inside of the battery. Now using our tweezers, we're going to go ahead and pick up the little grounding clip, as you can see. Place that aside, make sure you don't lose it. Okay, next step is to remove the battery. We will be using our guitar pick here, inserted this little gap that you see here. We'll pry the battery up. Lift it out of the device. Place it aside. Now we have this little tab. It is actually used to remove the battery. I don't like using this as it does tend to break half of the time. So I'll just rather use the guitar pick. Now in order to get this out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and fold it and adhere to the double-sided adhesive that was holding down the battery. Like so. Now we're going to be removing the shield that protects the charging port connector. 2 Phillips head screws. Place those aside. Now again, using our tweezers, we're going to go ahead and pick it up. Using the tip of the spudger, we're going to insert it underneath the flex. I'm going to pry it up. Once you actually have the connector disconnected, we're going to go ahead and gently lift this up as it's actually adhered to the motherboard itself. I'm going to peel it back softly. Make sure that you don't try to rip it off. Once it's like this, you're going to fold it outwards and leave it like that for the remainder of the repair. Next step is to remove the EM shield protecting the flexes for the camera, LCD, and the power button. Make sure that you keep track of all the screws like I said before. Four screws in total. Okay, now that we have actually removed all the screws, in order to remove the plate itself, this plate does have a hook underneath this flex. So what we want to do is actually push the plate towards the bottom of the device and lift it up. So we're going to go ahead and do it like so. Push down and lift up. This will release this little single clip that you see right here. Now we can lift it out of the device, place it aside. Now we will begin disconnecting all the flexes. Here we have the volume controls, ear jack flex. Now again, this flex, just to keep it out of the way the whole time, I tend to use the adhesive for the battery. Just tend to glue them there. Next is the rear camera. Disconnect it, lift it up, place it aside. Here we have the front camera. Hold it towards the inside of the device. Your power button flex. And then we have the digitizer and LCD connectors. Alright. Now we do have a little black tape that protects the grounding clip for the rear facing camera. So we're going to go ahead and using the tweezers. Going to lift it up, peel it back, remove it, place it aside somewhere you don't lose it, as you do want to reinstall that. Now we're going to go ahead and remove that screw. Using our tweezers, we're going to go ahead and lift up the grounding clip. Place it aside. Make sure you keep track of all the screws with its components. Okay, now we have this little grounding clip for the Wi-Fi antenna. We're going to go ahead and remove the small Phillips screw. And again, using my tweezers, I'm going to go ahead and insert it below the grounding clip. And I'm going to go ahead and lift it up. Place it aside. Now using the tip of my spudger, I'm going to insert it on this little gap that you see right here to disconnect this flex, which is your Wi-Fi antenna. Hold the antenna to the inside of the device. Alright, so we do have some standoff screws. Before we move on to those, we're going to go ahead and disconnect your service antenna, which is this black sticker laying on top of your loudspeaker, and then it has this little black wire here. Using the tip of your spudger, you can insert it underneath it, pry it up. Using your tweezers, you're going to grab it and guide it out of the motherboard and fold it towards the bottom of the phone. Next step is removing Phillips screw down here. this one right there. Next is this one here. The screws that we're removing right now basically are the last ones that are holding the motherboard in place. Now we move on to the standoffs, which is you have two, this one here and the one up here, this one right there. Using your flathead screwdriver, we're going to go ahead and remove those. Placing them aside. Okay, before we remove the motherboard, we have to remove the SIM card. So using our eject pin, I'm going to go ahead and remove the SIM card tray. Insert into the little hole that you see there. And you can remove the whole tray itself. Okay, so we have removed all of the screws holding the motherboard in place. The SIM card, do not forget the SIM card. Some people do remove the screws and they forget about the SIM card. The SIM card also holds the motherboard in place. Keep that in mind. Now, we could literally lift off the motherboard. I start from the bottom. You're going to lift it in an angle. You're going to kind of twist it towards the inside of the device to clear the little lip on top of the the SIM card tray. Twist it in, keep on lifting, and then you're able to remove it out of the device, placing it aside. Next, we're going to use your guitar pick to remove the vibrator. You can insert it beneath the contact points. Insert it all the way until you see the vibrator come out on your guitar pick. Remove it and place it aside. Next, we'll remove the loudspeaker. We have two screws. One here and the other one over here. This one here actually has a rubber or a plastic washer in the shape of a triangle. Make sure that you don't lose that. If you do lose it, the screw won't hold the loudspeaker anymore, so make sure you keep track of that. So we're removing this one first. Screw and the plastic washer. Now pick it up with your tweezers, make sure you place it right next to that screw so you don't lose it, and then you know where it belongs. Next step is to remove the screw on the opposite side of the loudspeaker. Again, make sure you keep track of all the screws, guys. Okay, now it's time to remove the loudspeaker. What we're going to do is, using your thumb, you're going to lift up this basically in an angle, as you can see, like so. And then lift it out of the device, placing this aside. Now we have to remove 10 screws, or actually we're going to remove 4 screws and we're going to loosen 6 of them to be able to remove the display from the frame assembly. So you have 4 screws, each one in each corner of the device. You do have one single screw on this corner up here that is covered by a piece of black tape, like the one that was right next to it, for the motherboard and camera grounding point. First, we're going to use the tweezers to remove the little black tape. Okay, so remove the black tape. Remember to keep these little black tapes somewhere that you won't lose them. I tend to just place them on top of the battery, so when we're reassembling the device, I place them back where they belong. Now we'll go ahead and begin removing the screws. Have that one on that corner. Next is the bottom corner. Okay, now one left. Now this one here is actually the trickiest one, as you actually do have your headphone jack in the way. So it's hard to reinstall, but the removal process is pretty straightforward, as you can see. Alright, so we remove all the screws located in the corners. Now next we have, as you can see, we have 3 screws right here. These screws, we're just going to loosen them by giving them one full turn, and then we're going to move on to the ones on the opposite side, which again, we have 1, 2, and 3 right here. So let's begin. So I do 2 half turns. Hold those flex inside so you don't damage it. Alright. Now one's on this side. Okay, so we have done 1 full turn on all those screws. Now, basically our display could be removed. Now what we're going to do is, we're going to use our guitar pick to remove it. So what we're going to do is, we're going to insert it on the bottom corner of the display, in between the metal frame and the plastic frame that you see for the screen itself. So just basically place your guitar pick on top of the aluminum frame and try to insert it underneath the display. The button on the forest does come out with the screen assembly. Okay, if your screen is badly broken, especially on the bottom section, pieces of glass will remain on the device. So you will need to clean that off. Okay, so once you actually remove the bottom portion of the screen, basically you're able to remove everything else by hand. So just go ahead and remove the whole screen from the display assembly. Do not lift it off yet, as you still have your flex cables inside of the frame assembly. So what we're going to do is we're going to guide them out. We do have that little cutout where they come out through, right there. So basically just go ahead and rotate your device and the screen and remove the screen from the frame assembly. Okay, so from your original screen, you do have to remove your camera sensing ring, which in this actual display already came off. So what we're going to do is, using the flat side of your splitter, you're going to pry it off, and then you're going to place it on where your front facing camera is at. As you can see, this is the ring. So you place it around the front facing camera like so. Then we have to remove the home button. Now I just use my finger and I press on it to break the adhesive bond. And then I lift it off the device. Okay, if you do have some glass residue on this, you want to literally just remove it, as we're going to be reusing this button for the new screen. Okay, so now it's time for the new screen. Place your broken screen aside.
Alright, how are you doing so far? Once you've opened your phone, now you're ready for replacing the broken LCD screen for the new one. Oh, and don't forget that we can recycle your old screen. Just look inside your box and find the envelope that you can use for shipping your screen back to us at no cost. In exchange for that, you can even choose one free gift among the options, like a tempered glass protector or a car charger for your phone. Let's see now how to replace your broken screen.
We have our new screen here. Okay, so in order to prep this screen, in your kit, you should have a mesh kit. That is basically the little black mesh, the little silver mesh. It's black on the back, as you can see right here on your broken screen. This little mesh. It goes on the front to protect it from any grime and dirt getting onto your ear speaker. So we're going to go ahead and install that in place. Okay. So your little filter, you're going to go ahead and remove the backing from it and install this little mesh onto the screen. Gently fold the cables upwards to have that clearance. Align it as best as possible. Now using this flat side of the spudger, just press on it to make sure that you made a nice bond. Now we can remove the paper backing for the LCD. Install your button. Now it's time to reinstall the new screen onto the frame assembly. Okay, so let's talk about the adhesive before we install the screen. If your screen was badly broken, you're going to have residue of glass on this adhesive, so you will have to replace it. Basically, the reason why is because we're going to remove this adhesive to clean any residue of glass. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this just to show you guys how to do it. Just pry it off. Obviously mine is clean as I didn't have any glass residue. Once you remove the adhesive, as you can see, you have a perfectly clean surface. Same thing goes for the top. Alright. Now let's go ahead and install the new adhesive. We have it right here. Go ahead and peel it from the paper backing. It comes in 3 pieces. So we're going to go ahead and literally just align it with the frame of the device. Press it down. Opposite side. We'll do the same thing. And then we have the top. Top is a little bit tricky. They all do go on fairly easy. So with the flat side of the spudger, just make sure you press them down. On the bottom. Using the tip, we're going to remove the paper backing for this. And the one on top. Okay, placing all this aside. Now we'll move on to installing the screen. So basically what we're going to do now is everything in reverse from the way that we removed or disassembled the device. To install the flexes, what we're going to do is we're I'm going to rotate the screen into the frame assembly to be able to clear the flexes without breaking them. You do not want to damage these. So once you actually have the metal pieces of the flexes through the cutout, using your finger here, you're going to guide them in. As you can see, show you, it's difficult to show on camera, but this little piece of the flex that you see here that is staying behind, you want to avoid this at any, basically just want to avoid it, because if that stays back there, the flex itself is going to become folded and broken. So we do not want that. So when you guide the flexes into the device, you want to make sure that both of the flexes are the same length. As you can see, that one is not even aligned with this one. They're both going to be aligned and the same length. So like I said, using your finger, you're going to guide them like so. You're going to press them together to be able to make sure that both of them go through properly. And then when you sit the top of the screen onto the frame, both of these flexes are the same length. Just make sure of that. Now holding this in place, to install the side clips running along the edge of the frame for the screen, you would do basically, when you're looking at the device, the ones that are on top, you're doing first, because those are the ones that are going to clear the washers for the 6 screws that are on there. And then you're going to rotate the device and then do the opposite side. Alright, so as you can see, little clips clear the screw and the washer, all of them. That's what we're looking for. And make sure that the screen is flush along the edges with the frame. Now what we're going to do is place it on the table. You're going to press on it to make sure that everything is flush. As you're pressing on it, basically what we're going to do is, as you're pressing on it, you're going to tighten the screws. Now the opposite side. Again, press on it and tighten the screws. And your display should stay on there, perfectly flush. Alright, so the next step is to reinstall the 4 screws on the corners. Now all screws are the same exact size. If your screw happens to go in incorrectly, just back it up all the way and start over. Next one. Okay. A tricky one. Alright, there we go. And the one that's going to be covered by the black tape. Okay, here we go. Now let's go ahead and pick up that piece of black tape that we removed previously and reinstall it. Like so.
Well, your repair is almost done. All you need to do now is reassemble your phone. So, did you think the repair was too easy for you? Maybe you have a natural talent for that. How about making some money with this? Yes, you can do just like me and join the iExperts, a community of repair specialists. Want to know how? Visit www.becomeaniexpert.com and be welcome to your new future. Now, let's see the last part of this video.
Okay, so basically we reinstalled all of the screws for the screen itself. Now we're going to move on to reinstalling the loudspeaker. Now loudspeaker, to reinstall it, again, you're going to install it in the same angle that you removed it in. So guiding it in that angle, make sure that it's flush with the bottom of the device. And then you're going to lower it. What we're looking for here is that these little silver clips that you see here, grounding clips, actually fall in place. Whoops. Actually fall in place. You have a little step ledge on the frame of the device itself. So if they don't happen to fall in place, you're going to use your spudger here to guide it in place. Alright, as you can see, they're all in there, all 4 of them. Now holding the loudspeaker like so, you're going to go ahead and reinstall the screws, starting by the one that goes here on the right side. Then we're going to do the one that goes on the opposite side. This is the one that has a little triangular shape washer. So we're going to pick up the washer itself, place it in place, like so. Just guide it into position. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the vibrator. For the vibrator, your contact points, as you can see, are actually have like a little backing plate that is a square, and then you have a little diagram inside of the device. It's also the same shape. So you're going to basically align the vibrator, 1 with the screw hole here, and 2 with the little diagram that you see there. Okay, so you're going to align this into position. Next step is we're going to reinstall the motherboard. The motherboard itself, you're going to install it in an angle like so. It has the top piece of the motherboard on the frame itself. You're going to see like a little gap on the top side here, and you're going to basically guide it into that location. Also, on this top screw, as you can see, it has a little hole right next to the screw hole. That is for a guiding pin that is right here. So let's go ahead and install this. Make sure that all the flexes are cleared out the way. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and lower it. Alright, so we're going to begin by reinstalling the screw that is going to hold down the vibrator. Just by reinstalling this one, your motherboard is going to stay in place. Like that. We're going to go ahead and move on to the standoffs. The standoffs are actually quite tricky to reinstall, as using the flathead screwdriver is a little difficult when you're going to reinstall these. So I tend to use the Phillips head just to guide them into position. Give them a few turns. Do the second one, and then we're going to use our flathead to tighten these. As you can see, they tend to move a lot. Alright. Now let's go ahead and tighten these with the flathead. Alright guys, you don't want to over tighten any of the screws inside of the device. You just want to, basically keep turning the screw until the screwdriver stops turning. Once you reach that point, don't try to torque them down, as you will most likely strip any screws inside of the device. Alright, now let's go ahead and install the screw that goes here. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the grounding clip, the golden grounding clip that goes behind the camera, using our tweezers. I'll go ahead and pick it up, place it where it goes, then install the screw. Okay, there we go. Alright, so we have reinstalled most of the screws. Now the next step is we're going to start reconnecting all the flexes in order to be able to reinstall the shields so we can finish the device. So let's begin with the Wi-Fi antenna. When you're reconnecting any of the flexes, you're going to place your finger on top of it, move it side to side until you feel it drop into position, and then press it down until you feel or hear that click. Next, we're going to do the power flex cape, which is the one at the bottom here, bottom right. Again, do the same thing. Now this is the front camera. Followed by the headphone jack and volume controls. Looking for that socket. Press it down when you find it. We're going to do the LCD one. Long flexes like this, usually you feel 2 clicks, one on each end. So make sure they're connected properly. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the rear camera. You're going to guide it into position in an angle. Now we're going to go ahead and reconnect the flex. Next step is to reinstall the shield that protects all of this. You have the 2 little feet on the bottom. They go right there. Like so. Then don't forget that you have this little clip. You're going to basically push it down like when we removed it, as we lower it, and then move it back into position. And all the screw holes should align properly. Let's go ahead and start reinstalling the screws. I tend to do this one first. This is the easiest one. And then the plate is going to be flush with the motherboard. Then go ahead and move to the one at the top. And the last 2. Make sure that you're following your map to reinstall all the screws in the appropriate location, especially when we're dealing with screws that go on top of the motherboard. You do not want to mix these up. Now we're going to go ahead and install the grounding clip for the Wi-Fi antenna. My tweezers, I'm going to go ahead and lower into position. You're going to lower this little piece first. It goes into a little gap that you're going to see right there. A little gap right there. Basically just lower into position and press down here with your finger until it's flush with the motherboard and is aligned with the screw hole. Go ahead and reinstall the small screw that holds this down. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and reconnect the service antenna. You're going to guide it around the standoff and then through this little clip that holds it down. It's going to make like a S type of shape. And you're going to reconnect it. Again, looking for the socket. Okay. Now we're going to reconnect the dot connector. Once it's reconnected, you go ahead and press down on the adhesive. We're going to go ahead and reinstall the shield that holds this down. It was actually different on both ends. This is basically rounded edges, and then here you have a little indentation in this bottom corner. That's because you actually have to clear a little clip right here. So like that you'll know which side goes where. Hold it down while you reinstall the screws. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and place the little black and gold contact point that sits underneath the battery flex connector. This one is going to go just like this, right on top. Don't worry about being in line right now. We're going to go ahead and reinstall the battery first. Place the screws. You're not going to tighten the top screw. Then we're going to basically realign it perfectly, and then we're going to go ahead and retighten that. Go ahead and pick up your battery. We're not going to sit the battery in just yet. We're going to go ahead and connect the flex first. So you're going to bend it down like so. Align it as best as possible with the screw holes and the socket. Then press down on it. Don't forget to lift up your tab. Now we're going to lower the battery, pressing down on the flex to recreate that bend. We're going to reinstall both of the screws. I always do the top one first to make sure that the little grounding clip doesn't fly out of here. Don't tighten it, then you're able to move the clip, align it properly, and then you can go ahead and tighten the screw. Alright, that's pretty much it. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the SIM card tray. And close the lid. For the lid, you do have this little plastic tabs along the sides. You're not going to press down on it until you notice that everything is flush. Always thinking and remembering that you're going to have this little gap here when you reinstalled it. When it's flush, now you can slide it down to close that gap, making sure that it's still flush on both sides. And then we're going to reinstall both of the screws on the bottom. Just place both of them in position. Using my finger here, I'm going to go ahead and guide the pencil loop screwdriver. And remember, when you're tightening this, when the screwdriver stops turning, you're done. Alright guys, now that we have done the whole repair, we're going to go ahead and boot the phone. Make sure that it turns on. And you will test the functions when it comes to the digitizer. Make sure that everything works properly. If you have any issues with its touch itself or the display, you're going to go back into the device and check the connections for the LCD and the digitizer. Make sure that you did them properly. If everything is working fine, then you have just successfully done the repair for an iPhone 4S. Well, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you.